Hey, party people. Welcome back. Today, I'm going to start a series on hair. And you're like, oh my God, a series, like a whole, like how many videos do you need to explain hair? And it's like, you know what? It actually takes just one video to explain hair, but previous experience with my classes has shown me that my students love it when I sit there and render every hairstyle under the sun. They get a big kick out of it. And my favorite thing is when students are like, ooh, do this one. Ooh, and how about dreads? And how about dreads in a ponytail? And braids? What about French braids? Okay, because they're different from regular braids. And, and they sit there and I'm just like this little performing monkey at demo doing all these hairstyles. And this happens to me in pretty much every single class in like every semester. So let's get started. I'm going to demo hair with markers and color pencils today because it's the fastest way to demo it, but there's not really anything about the techniques that I'm going to show you that won't translate to any other medium. My approach and my attitude towards hair rendering is a little bit different from other people's. As I said before, the focus of the kind of illustration that I do is for design communication. And to that end, hair is not a really important thing for me. Hairstyles communicate the customer and the muse for my illustrations, but it's not the center point of the illustrations because we are not hair designers, we are clothing designers. So it has to look good, but it shouldn't be the star of the show. It shouldn't be a big distraction, and it shouldn't take that long. Your focus and your energy and your time should be devoted to designing all the best things, all the prettiest things, and making sure you're getting the details just right on all the crazy seams and the top stitching and the tucking and the draping and so I have a few tips that you need to keep in mind every time you do hair. The first step is think of hair as a shape and not individual strands. Whether your hair is long and cascading over someone's face, now hair is a shape. You don't want to sit here and do every strand of hair. We don't have time for that, okay? We are not hair designers. So whether it's a little bob on this cute little man-child here, it's a shape. Hair is a shape. Ponytails are shapes. Bobs are shapes. Even short hair like this is a shape. Big, floppy bangs over the face. Still a shape, okay? So don't sit there and just watching me is so boring, right? And I'm not even done with her head. So hair is a shape. Number 2, render in the direction hair grows. So if you have a bob like this, you know his hair is falling in this direction. So you don't want to take your marker and start rendering in this direction. Even if you get the strokes, whatever, like just take my word for it. Most of you, especially like for those of you who have been working with markers for a long time, it might not matter so much. But for the rest of you who are still streaking up a storm because you are still brand new with markers, just do yourself the favor, get in the habit of rendering in the direction hair grows, in the direction of the limbs, in the direction of the grain line of your clothes. Always, always. Number 3, we need to think about highlights and shadows. Because again, hair is a shape, it's also a form. And so you want to create a 3-dimensional sort of shape going on around the head. And so you have to think about highlights and shadows. And first, shadows. Hair is darkest at the roots. And even if you're a bottle blonde, if you're trying to go for a natural look, chances are your colorist will keep your roots a little bit darker so that it looks more natural. The only time that roots aren't darker naturally is when someone's really going for an obviously fake hair color like platinum white, blonde, or cotton candy pink or something like that, where it's like, yeah, we know it's not real hair color. It's also darkest at the tips. And I like to have the tips be the darkest because it looks healthy. You know, when you have split ends, your hair looks lighter and it starts looking a little bit hay, texture-y. So when the tips look dark, the hair looks healthier. Like now. Hair is darkest like around the face. So because it's in shadow, like if the light is over here, this part is in shadow. There's no light going into your hair. So hair around your ears and around your neck, like the inside of your hair is going to be dark. Where is hair lightest? Hair is lightest where hair curves towards the light. So when you have hair like this, let's say that's where your light is coming from. As your hair curves towards the light, this is closest to the light, this area is going to get the highlight. Let's look at this little haircut. If your light source is over here, this part where it's going closest to the light, this is where your highlights will sit. How do you shape your highlights? Do you have like a big white block? No. Because even though hair is a shape, it's a textured shape. And so we're not going to see white bars of highlights like you would on incredibly shiny fabrics like PVC. So because of the texture of hair, our highlights are going to be kind of a zigzag shape. And your highlight's going to sit across the hair. So if your hair is going in this direction, then your highlights are going to sit across like this. Your hair is going in this direction, your highlights are sitting across. If you have a bun, this cute little girl, and she has a bun on her head. If her bun, if the hairs of her, you've seen different kinds of buns, right? If the hair of her buns are going in this direction, her highlights will sit across her bun. If her bun, her hairs are going in this direction, because it got wrapped around like this, if your light is coming from over here, your highlight will go across the hair closer to the light over here. Your highlight will sit over here. So those are your basics. Number one, treat hair like a shape, not a million strands of hair. Render with your markers, with your paintbrush strokes, your color pencils, your watercolor pencils, what have you. Render in the direction hair is going, blowing, growing. Hit where the hair is darkest at the roots, at the tips, and on the inside. And then highlight as it gets closer to the light. Highlights hit across the direction hair grows and not along the direction hair grows. And these are the tips that can be used for almost all hairstyles. And in the future videos where I demo for you different hairstyles, I'll show you where there are exceptions to that rule. Like when we're doing black girl hair, super kinky hair, the way highlights work for kinky hair are really different, but we'll get there as we get there in the series, right? So we have this profile bob, and we've done the hair in the shape. I already know that I'm going to render in this up and down direction, which is the direction the hair is growing. And I'm going to have this be the light source. Typically, when I do a profile face, I like the face facing the light. I think it's a prettier look. I mean, unless you're doing that whole like, oh, my customer is super mysterious and likes to be in shadow. I don't know. Whatever. So your light is facing this way, and so your highlights are going to be up top, like kind of around this area, and then the roots, the tips, and this inside area is going to be dark. Always test your markers before you start, or consult your marker charts. Like this one. Whenever I do charts for hair, I like to layer the color pencil I'm going to use and the marker I'm going to use together to see what that looks like. I'm going to use a brush tip because I do like using brush tips for hair. I can get those nice swishy strokes. And to do the highlights for hair, I like to leave the white of the paper. If you use a white gel pen or white color pencil, charcoal pencil, white marker, what have you, to put highlights on top of hair, it doesn't look like hair. It looks like, you know, the person was, you know, priming some canvases and got gesso in their hair. Like, it just never looks like a natural hair highlight. So I'm gonna, there's my roots. And yeah, I'm gonna cross into the highlight area a little bit. And I'm going to, you know, rendering up and down the direction of the hair, leaving that white zigzaggy bar for highlights, but filling in the tips and the roots. You may have figured this out by now, but marker colors, they get darker as you keep layering it. And so I'm leaving, you know, I'm doubling the ink over in some areas to get that color variation. You can always tell a cheap dye job when the color is like seriously like all one block color. You want to have some of the highlight, natural highlights and lowlights. Oh my God, I'm using the wrong side of the paper. If you were in my class, you'd be busted for not telling me. All right, and then once I have the basic color down, I'm going to take a color pencil and I'm going to darken the roots and the insides and the tips, and then also give the hair some texture, but I'm not gonna render every single strand. I'm just gonna darken the tips, pull some strands through for texture. And it's okay that some of my pencil lines go outside the bob. Like, people don't have helmet hair. I mean, okay, if you're going for like a 1960s Vidal Sassoon thing, then okay, maybe you can have like a perfect Peggy Moffat helmet. And this is the problem when, like, you know, all this like costume history. It's like every time I say something, I already can think of an instance where that would not be the case, and it makes me crazy. Whatever. So, you know, when I say these things, I'm just talking like 99% of the time. All right. The number one rule is make it look good. So if you're going to do helmet hair, you know, a la Vidal Sassoon 5-point star, just make it look good. Tips. And then I'm going to make sure that in here is like way dark. But did you see how fast that went? I wasn't trying to be all careful and draw every strand of hair. And, you know, I'll be honest, I've seen illustrations that do that and they're beautiful. I've seen some really beautiful, meticulous, probably took an hour just to do one side of her head illustrations, but that's really not our goal, right? Like, you can do that and that's fine, whatever, but that's not our goal. Boom, there you go. It's a beautiful, shiny, swing it around, you know, shampoo commercial ready hair. Because that's the goal, right? Like, these girls, they should look like they have amazing hair. They should look like models ready for their shampoo contract. Fast, quick, simple, straightforward. This is the style of hair you want for your customer. Moving on to the more important stuff, the clothes, right? So that's the end of this video. Hit the subscribe button if you want alerts for the next in the hair series. I'm going to do one on straight hair. I'm going to talk to you about bobs and bangs and ponytails and wavy hair and Sailor Moon hair flying in the breeze. I'm going to do a video on curly hair and wavy hair and kinky hair and afros and dreads. And I'm going to do one all for guys where I talk about mohawks and facial stubble and beards and body hair. Yeah, because not every model has to be perfectly manscaped. Body hair is hot, if rendered correctly. I'm going to teach you all those things. So stay tuned. I'm going to post a bunch of hair videos in the future. All right, see you next time.